Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate at the Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
This is Randall Via, a.k.a. Red Onion Randy. I'm currently serving 1,214 years for capital murder and armed robbery. Now, and finally, at a level 3 Buckingham Correctional Center, stone's throw from where I grew up. If you have any questions or comments or want to leave a message or whatever, I've got a voicemail line. That number is 1-888-524-1932. You can also visit my website, which is new and improved and got different features and whatnot, at www.redonionrandy.com. I hope you do. Let's get started with the podcast. Okay. So, here in Virginia, and I've spoken on this a little bit briefly here and there. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail today because I received something that some guys in here were passing out. And it really, well, I'm just going to simply read it to you and then just go on into what I say. So, the heading of it is only one parole release in January, none in February, none in March. The Parole Board Chair, Patricia West, in a recent visit to Lawrenceville Correctional Center, made it clear she will never, ever agree to grant parole in cases where individuals have committed serious violent crimes. Period. This, in spite of its mission to do so for those whose release is compatible with public safety. This could lead one to believe that the Virginia Department of Corrections is incapable of correcting the individuals in its charge, and that the Virginia DOC is primarily a department of punishment. So there's an inmate there and a friend of his named Jonathan White at Lawrenceville who are proposing legislation that will require the board to base their decisions on clearly defined criteria as outlined in a 14-point inmate parole criteria score sheet. This following is just a little section of it. I don't have the whole thing. I'm just simply going to read what I have in front of me. In Virginia, parole has always been recognized as a societal good by all political parties for prisoners who have demonstrated rehabilitation and pro-social positive behavior. The parole system is a reflection of the penal system functioning as an institution of reform and transformation of individuals. However, the current board's decision-making has resulted in the lowest parole grant in the history of Virginia, not a mark of distinction. For the year 2024, the grant rate was a scant 0.5%, a mere 16 of the approximately 3,200 incarcerated women and men who are parole eligible under existing law. Note, with parole having been abolished in 1995, most of the 24,000 men and women in the Virginia DOC and institutions are not parole eligible. The main reason for the abysmal parole rate, contrary to most people's beliefs, is that the board has no standard criteria for parole. Each member has their own voting concept. So for the 5 members, there are 5 unknown criteria each prison has to meet. So how can the General Assembly fix the current parole voting system and ensure public safety? The answer is to release individuals who have demonstrated rehabilitation, transformed their lives, and have proven they will be successful returning citizens. We need elected officials to radically change the board's decision-making process by passing a law that establishes a viable voting criteria the board must adhere to, one that establishes justice with fairness. The current board's modus operandi was established in the 1940s and is akin to boilerplate language, not grant seriousness of crime, etc. All crimes are serious, but these continuous decisions undermine the idea of true criminal justice reform, rehabilitation, and fairness. The common sense attached amendment COV 53.1-134.2 establishes a compulsory parole criteria the board must follow. And that's basically all it really says. Now, this lady, who is the head of the parole board, went to Lawrenceville, the incentive prison that I came up with years ago when I was still at Red Onion. The Lawrenceville I never got sent to, even though it's been open for over a year, even though I've been 19 and a half years charge-free and so on and so forth. It is what it is. But this lady went to the Virginia DOC's incentive prison and told the guys there, the guys that are busting their ass to stay there, to rehabilitate themselves, to change, to transform who they are, to change the way they think, to change the way they feel, to change the way they react into responding. They're going to school, they're taking college courses, they're taking trades, they're doing all of these things. Lawrenceville is probably the most positive prison, if not the single only positive prison in America. Like, I've never heard of any other facility in any other state from any other interstate compact inmate or so on and so forth where they talk about their state has an actual incentive prison. Like, this is kind of groundbreaking. And the lady who's making the decision on whether they go home or not says, look, if you got locked up for stealing a piece of bubble gum, I might let you go. But if you did something when you were young and stupid, like I did, well, you, buddy, I don't care what you do. I don't care how you change. I don't care how you've grown up and matured. I don't care what trade you get, what kind of education you get. It is irrelevant to me. If you have anything considering slightly violence, you're not getting out. She's not going to release you. And as the head of the parole board, well, let's face it, the other 4 members are going to do what she says, because if they don't, she's simply going to pick the phone up and call the governor. Hey, we got to get rid of them. They're way, way too progressive. They want to let somebody out who actually got into a bar fight, hit somebody over the head with a beer bottle, split their scalp open. They had to get 4 stitches and was charged with a malicious wounding. And they're just saying, no, I will not let them go home. How insane is this? How is the state of Virginia? We come to prison, some of us, not all of us. Let me make that distinctly clear. And it's not even a very, very large portion of the population. Have actually rehabilitated themselves, turned their lives around, and they're actually model citizens. But even those that have done that, they've literally done everything you've asked them to do, you're still not going to release them. You're still not going to give them a shot. And then the governor wants to go on social media. He wants to go in front of actual media. Well, since my time in office, we have the lowest recidivism rate in the country. That's really fucking easy to have when you're not letting anybody out of prison. this is the problem with the parole board, not just in this state but in other states. And I'm actually quite familiar with the parole board system in other states through my editor, Michael, because he watches a lot of those videos. He posts them online on Prison Audio. You have people in other states that have committed the exact same crimes I have. They've done 15 years and got out of prison. I've done 27. And, yeah, no parole for me. Even if I was eligible for it. Even if the laws change, when Abigail Spanberger becomes the next governor of Virginia, barring some unforeseen miracle, if she puts her foot in her mouth like Terry McAuliffe did against Glenn Youngkin, then, I could see Winsome Sears winning. But as of right now, I do not see Winsome Sears winning at all. What is she going to do? Like, that's the topic of conversation. Like, every single day, I hit that yard. I'm working now. I'm running. I'm doing the things I need to do to keep my mental health in check. Keep the frustration up off me. Stay healthy. Stay strong. Stay ready. So on and so forth. And I hear guys constantly talking about this. Over and over and over again from every single angle you could possibly think of. I heard a story about a guy. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. I'm just simply going to repeat the story as I heard it, and I advise you to simply take it with a grain of salt. But I was talking to somebody, and they told me that they had a buddy, and this was like last year sometime. He went up for parole. He never once spoke to any member on the actual parole board. He spoke to some assistant, and the assistant, they took him over to a room in the administration building, and they put him on a computer, and he did a little face-to-face Zoom meeting. And the assistant was standing there or sitting there, and he had his cell phone in his hand. And he was sitting there looking at what was on the cell phone, and he was like, oh, yeah, so what about this? And he just asked him questions that this guy had on his social media page, that he has his family do for him, like a lot of prisoners do nowadays. With us trying to stay in touch with the world and everything. Every single question this guy asked came from this guy's social media. Not a single question had to do with how long have you been charge-free? How many programs do you have? Have you gotten a trade? Have you gotten a GED? Have you, taken college courses? Like, what have you done to make me think you deserve early release from prison? No. Every single question this assistant asked came from this cat's social media. And when he got back, he was telling his buddy, like, the kind of questions that the dude was asking him. And, like, because he didn't even realize this at the time. So, let's face it, sometimes, guys in prison get their hands on cell phones. So they went, they paid a guy that they knew had one, and he rented it out. I'm not sure how much they gave him, probably $15, $20. But they literally went on a guy's social media page and was actually looking at all this stuff. And sure enough, every single question the parole board assistant asked that was it. And of course, the guy got shot down. Never mind that this cat's been in prison almost 40 years for a crime he committed when he was a juvenile. I think he was 18. I could be wrong. But he committed the crime when he was 18 years old, give or take. He's done almost 40 years in the system. He actually has his GED. He actually has a couple of trades. He's taken a whole bunch of programs. And he still was denied parole because of people like this, because the people who are actually being hired for the parole board, every last one of them are former Commonwealth attorneys, or they're a former sheriff or what have you. They are always members of law enforcement. Why can't you get a retired doctor? Why can't you get a retired school teacher, a retired businessman or woman? Why can't you get someone who's been an upstanding member of society for 40, 50-some years, but they've never had nothing to do with law enforcement one way or the other, for good or bad? They haven't worked for them, and they haven't been arrested by them. They've got a college degree. They've, done what they were supposed to do. They raised a family. They're raising grandchildren. All of these things. Why can't you have members like that on the parole board making the decisions whether a guy actually deserves parole or not? And why is it up to each individual? Why do they have their own criteria that you have to meet? I actually like what Jonathan White and his friend at Lawrenceville are doing. They actually sat down and I guess just wrote out, their own little version. And, of course, the General Assembly can, add to it, change it, delete, whatever they want to do if they actually pass this law and the governor signs it. There should be specific criteria. In order to get early release, in order to be given parole, you have to have a GED or a high school diploma. You have to have done this, and done that. Like, there should be actual rules. And if you check off every single one, then you are automatically granted parole. If you miss 2 or 3, so for example, I have been putting in for electrical trades and any other trade I can think of, but I'll always get denied because I have 1,214 years. Every time my name makes it to the top of the list, I'll always get bumped right back to the very bottom of it because they skip over me to get the guy behind me who goes home in 5 years or 15 years or 20 years. So I'm actually not eligible for trade. I can't take a trade here in the state of Virginia because of that reason. So they need to put an asterisk beside having a trade because I can't get a trade if they won't let me in class. But yet, Glenn Youngkin, you've got the lowest recidivism rate. How do these people get away with this? And it's because nobody cares. If you don't have an inmate that is related to you, nine times out of 10, you don't care. You have better things to do. I mean, you can get a lightsaber in Fortnite.
You have 1 minute remaining.
It's insane. It's just insane that this lady would actually go to prison and tell guys, I don't care what you do, if you have what I consider a violent crime, no matter what you've done to rehabilitate yourself and turn your life around, I'm not letting you go, you and your family. I don't even know what else to say. All right, that's all the time we have for now. I appreciate you listening to me more than you'll probably ever know. I just want to let you know, don't forget to check out my website, redonionrandy.com. And for those of you who want to hear more, or you want to listen to the episodes commercial-free, or hear me and my editor discuss a little bit further into the episodes, please go to Patreon, join me, support me. It's only $5 a month. And just a reminder, I have a cookbook out. You're going to eat that. You can find it on our website or Amazon Kindle or Amazon Print.
Thank you for using GTL.